everyone, and welcome to this lab, Finding Open Services Ports using Kali Linux. In this tutorial, I'll take you through the process of discovering open ports on a target machine, understanding the services running on them, and implementing practical security measures to reduce risk. Whether you're here to strengthen your cybersecurity skills or you're just curious about how port scanning works, this lab is for you. Let's get started. So first, let's set up our environment. For this lab, you need two virtual machines, one running Kali Linux, which we'll use as our scanning machine, and another running Metasploitable 2, which act as the target machine. So in my case, I first had to disconnect my Kali Linux. I already did the project using two virtual machines, but for this tutorial, I'll simply use Kali Linux and I used the Metasploitable framework in this project, and my virtual machine was disconnected from the internet. So you're not going to see a lot of ports. This is just for clarity, and this is like for educational purposes. Yeah. So let's continue. To connect the machines, make sure they are on the same virtual network so that they can communicate with each other. This important step. Please do that. Make sure of that. Once your setup is ready, identify the target machine's IP address. This is how the scanning tools knows where to look. After that, test the connection between the two machines to ensure they're able to communicate. With the setup complete, we are ready to scan. The first step in port scanning is to perform a basic scan. This gives us an overview of the open ports and the services running on them. Think of this like checking which doors are unlocked on a building. Each open port represents a potential entry point for attackers. So understanding what is open is critical. This initial scan focuses on the most commonly used ports, giving us a quick, useful insight without overwhelming us with data. Now that we know which ports are open, the next step is to gather more information about the services running on those ports. This way we dive deeper to identify the specific software and its versions. For example, if a port is running a web server, we want to know what kind of web server is it and what version of the software is it using. This is important because outdated versions can have known vulnerability that attackers might exploit. By identifying the software and version, we can assess whether it poses a security risk. After completing basic service information, we can run an aggressive scan to dig even deeper. This step provides additional details such as the target machine's operating system, network layer, and even potential vulnerability. This type of scan combines multiple techniques to give us a comprehensive picture of the target. It's a bit like hiring a building inspector who looks at every single detail, from the structural identity to the wiring to the plumbing, this just to name a few. In some cases, attackers don't just rely on commonly used ports. They may target less oblivious ones. To ensure nothing is overlooked, we perform a scan of all possible ports. As I said, on my side, you're not going to be able to see everything because of it's disconnected. And yeah, while this takes longer, it is thoroughly through way to uncover an unexpected or misconfigured services that could be exposed. It's like checking every single window and door in a building, no matter how small or hidden it might be. Once we have a full picture of the open ports and services, we can use vulnerability detection tools to identify specific weakness. These tools analyze the configurations of services, checking for issues like outdated software, weak settings, or known bugs. If you're bug bounty, I think this is like something that you guys do regularly. And think of it as running a safety check on the building, identifying faulty locks, broken windows, or other security risks. By knowing this vulnerability, we can take action to secure the system. Finally, it is important to save your scan results. This is how this allows you to document your findings and review them later. And I think if you also want to get into incident response, you need to learn documentation, because there you got to document. Because when you go speak to CISOs or companies about their business plan or disaster recovery, they need to use the previous documentation or the previous lesson learned, everything, like every previous stuff, to now know what is happening now. So documenting every step is very important. Make sure of that. It's good practice for tracking changes over time or sharing your analysis with a team. Think of this as creating a detailed report of your building inspection for future references. So now I have some security measures that also you need to make sure that you complying to. Now that we have identified the risk, let's talk about how to secure the system right. The first step is keeping everything up to date. Software updates often include security patches that fix vulnerability. By regularly updating the system, we can close gaps before attacker exploit them. Next, we need to control access to services. A firewall is essential tool for this. It acts like a security guard, only letting in authorized traffic or blocking everything else. Configuring a firewall ensures that only the necessary ports are accessible. Disabling unnecessary service is another crucial step. If a service is not being used, shutting it down eliminates a potential entry point. It's like locking up a room that no one uses to reduce the number of vulnerability spots. For services that are required, we can add access control. This involves restricting who can connect to them and from where. For example, allowing only certain IP addresses to access sensitive services like SSH provides an extra layer of security. You can't have people in your company using HTTP and you're still using Telnet. That is crazy. Lastly, deploying intrusion detection system can help monitor network traffic and alert us to suspicious activities. Tools like this act as a security camera, keeping an eye on what is happening and letting us know if something looks unusual. So please make sure of that. And last but not least, this is like now my closing points. And here we have it. We've gone through the entire process of scanning a system for open ports, and I was explaining everything, identifying services and vulnerability, and implementing key security measures to protect against threats. This lab is a great start point for understanding how attackers might target a system and, more importantly, how to defend against them. Remember always to get explicit permission before scanning any system. Hence, I used my Kali disconnected for this project specifically, regardless of me have done the project before and got so amazing results. For this one I didn't want, because some people can take risky, and so please ask for permission. Use your virtual machines and so forth. Please ask for permission. When you're in jail, please do not be like, oh, this and that, please. And using the skills responsibly. If you found this tutorial helpful, please share, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and have a lovely, please do subscribe. Bye.